Hi there. So today we are going to be going through part 2 of the Food Web Lab investigation. So make sure that you open up Google Classroom, you get to the lab assignment under lab reports, and open up the Google slide presentation. In part 1, we focused on color coding and adding names to our chart of the different types of animals in our ecosystem, and we color coded the pictures and moved some of them off to the side so that we could have more room to design on the actual white space. So today we are going to be focusing on actually making those connections using that chart from page 2 and going ahead and using the arrow tool for this part of the activity. So here we go. The one thing we are going to have to add is a sun. So I'm going to move this white box down, the speaker notes down, so I have a nice big space. And I'm going to use the shape tool. And I can use just a solid circle or an actual sun icon. And I'm going to make a nice decent sized sun that is yellow. Now I could do that and have all of the arrows going downwards, but I actually like looking at things going from the bottom up. So I'm not going to use the sun. I'm going to make a half moon shape. Let's see if we have a half moon. I have this kind of half moon, but it's a block arrow. That's not really what I would like. I could just make a circle. So I'm going to take a nice big circle and I'm going to make, ooh, I don't want that, but I want a nice big sun. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And I'm going to move this sun to down on the bottom, and I'm going to make it yellow. So it is going to kind of overlap on the bottom just a little bit, but if we were to present it, it wouldn't matter too much. And then we're going to write the word sun. I can make the word sun nice and big. I can make it bold. I can change the font if I really want to, and I can also center it. And I want it towards the top. Then I'm actually going to move it off to the side just a little bit. I want to get all those pictures from underneath. So now I have my sun on my page. I am going to focus on now putting my producers. My producers are all of my green items. So I can move everything else off to the side. And I'm going to keep all of my green boxes on the page. So I have passion fruit, I have grasses, aquatic plants, and green algae. And I'm going to just push them towards the sun. Now obviously the sun is not really like that in real life, but it just gives us a good visual that the sun is giving energy to all 4 of those areas. Over here next to my shape tool is a line. Clicking the little arrow next to it, I can change it to an arrow, an elbow connector, a curve. I'm going to do arrow. And I'm going to connect purple dot to purple dot. That way, and I'm also going to make the line a little bit thicker. That way, no matter wherever I put green algae, the arrow will continue to be. So you want to make sure you're always connecting a purple dot to a purple dot. And I'm going to do the same thing now with the sun for grasses. Make it a little bit thicker. Make it sun to passion fruit. And sun to aquatic plants. So we have our 4 producers connected to our sun. Now we are going to focus on the herbivores, the animals that only eat plants. Those are our blue things. So we have capybara, we have insects, we have a snail, we have the Pacu fish, and we have tadpoles. So if we look at the chart, and if we look in our student reader, we can see that tadpoles eat green algae. So they're going to get an arrow, nice and thick, the same color as everything else. Then I'm going to do the Pacu fish. The Pacu fish also eat green algae. So the green algae is going towards the Pacu fish because that's who's getting the energy. I then look at the grasses. The grasses are eaten by the snail. So he gets a nice little arrow. The grasses also go to the capybara. And the grasses, and that's it. That's all who eats grasses. Then you have aquatic plants, and the aquatic plants are going to the capybara. Actually, no, they're going to go to rainbow cichlid, and they're going to go to insects. So we're going to do aquatic plants to insects. Go back and click on that arrow to make it bigger. And the Pacu fish eat the aquatic plants. It's okay if your arrows kind of crisscross and go over some of your pictures. That's not a big deal. You can also make your pictures a little bit smaller. So that way everything can fit on one screen. And remember, you do that by clicking and dragging on the corner of one of your squares. That way the dimensions stay the same and your picture doesn't look distorted. Now, passion fruit is eaten by the capybara, so we need to give an arrow from passion fruit to capybara. And the passion fruit is also eaten by the insect. So again, we're going to give it an arrow and make it thicker. And as we go through, if we realize we need to make more lines, we'll make more lines. That's the beauty of doing it digitally. We can make things as often as we want. So we have our pink options. We have our rainbow cichlid. And we have our ibis. So our rainbow cichlid, not cichlid, our rainbow cichlid eats aquatic plants. So we're going to go from aquatic plants to the rainbow cichlid. And the rainbow cichlid also eats insects. So we're going to go an arrow going from insects to the rainbow cichlid. The rainbow cichlid is eaten by the egret, so we'll put the egret up there later. But the insects are also eaten by the ibis. So we're going to draw an arrow from insect to the ibis. The ibis also eats the tadpoles. So another arrow going there. And the ibis eats snails. So we're going to go from the snails to the ibis. And it's just really taking your time with who eats which animals. So the rainbow cichlid is eating insects and aquatic plants. The ibis eats grasses as well because it is pink and eats another producer. So we're going to go from grasses to the ibis. And then we can make our pink items a little bit smaller. And then go ahead and put all of our red carnivores up on our page. If some of the boxes need to reach over the white space a little bit, that's fine. And here we go. Now it's really hard to see everything because of all of the different, what happened there? But it's okay to move things around a little bit and make sure that they are hitting where they need to. Like, I did not do grasses to the ibis correctly, so now it's there and it should connect properly. So we're going to start with the caiman. The caiman eats the ibis. So we're going over there. We know that unfortunately our capybara is eaten by the giant otter. And we know that it is also eaten by the, what else is it eaten by? The jaguar. So we can draw a line going to the jaguar. We're leaving decomposers over here to the side. We'll use that in a minute. We can go ahead and do our horned frog, which eats insects. Our horned frog is also eating the rainbow cichlid. The rainbow cichlid is also being eaten by the giant otter. And the egret also eats the rainbow cichlid. The caiman also eats the tegu. So even though the tegu is what we're calling a carnivore, other carnivores will eat it. So let's see, the tegu eats the snail. It eats tadpoles. The snail. And the tegu is also eaten by the egret. So you see how that line kind of just crosses across some of those pictures. The snail we said was eaten by the tegu. It's also eaten by the giant otter. And you would continue like this for the rest of the animals in the ecosystem. We're almost done, but there's a few more that we would need to make sure are completely on there. Once you're done with finishing all those arrows, the last thing you're going to do is make a shape. And you are going to go to arrows, and you're going to click the one that has the left arrow call out, it's called. And it's that nice big rectangle with an arrow. And you're going to make this shape either the brown that you've chosen, or the black, or with a brown or black layout. And you're going to put that picture inside and write, decomposers eat all dead and decaying organisms. And you can change the color to be white, make it a little bit bigger. And there you go. So that will be what your food web looks like. Obviously, double and triple checking that all of your arrows are accompanying all the correct animals. And you can make things bigger or smaller and move them around as you'd like. As long as we see most of the patterns correctly, that's what we're looking for in grading. So go ahead, take a few minutes and work on this piece of the lab, and then check in for part 3 to go over the questions.